Okay, there we go. I think we're live. What's going on, everybody? Man, I already see there's a lot of people here. Okay, I'm just waiting for my stream to catch up on the live page, make sure everything is actually displaying. There it goes. Hey everybody. Welcome to what was supposed to be the 20,000 subscriber live stream Q&A, but it actually turned into the 25,000 subscriber live Q&A. So thank you guys for that. While people start to trickle in, I had a couple people ask me to do a video about what I got for Christmas, so I figured that might as well be a good time to do that here instead of making a whole separate video. So this is a post I shared on my Instagram. Let me get over here. This is some of the stuff I got. Got those big figs, Kylo Ren and Poe Dameron. Those are awesome. My parents gave me that very comfortable pillow. The art of the Star Wars The Force Awakens book, which is awesome. My wife gave me that. And she also gave me the Jedi and Sith code books. You can see there in the middle. My parents also got me Star Wars, absolutely everything you need to know. I can never have too many reference books for my research. My buddy Ashton got me those little Funko Pops. Captain Phasma, Kylo Ren, and Poe Dameron. My parents got me BB-8, and my wife got me the giant BB-8 there. My friend Josh got me those R2-D2 and C-3PO koozies. Let's see, my wife got me that black and orange Poe Dameron X-Wing, and my parents got me that TIE Fighter, and something that's not in the image because it just wouldn't fit. My buddy Brian, we call him Schlag, he got me these. Very cool. Got a reflection there. Whoa, whoa, whoa. He got me these movie prints. These kind of pop art things. One for every movie. Where's the reflection? There we go. Those are pretty cool. So that was basically my Christmas haul. With that out of the way, I'm gonna start taking your questions. So let's talk Star Wars, and we can talk about The Force Awakens and have a discussion. Let's do this. Well, Blob180, you made it. Hands, am I looking forward to Benicio del Toro playing Grand Admiral Thrawn in Episode 8? Dude, I hope so. That would be awesome. He'd make a very good Thrawn. Do I think they'll make an 8th Star Wars movie? You know, I've heard rumors that they're going to, and I think this movie is doing okay, so I imagine we might see an 8th, or 9th, or 10th, or 11th. Donnie, you want me to rank all 7? Okay, I have seen The Force Awakens twice now. I'm still... It's in my top 3 for sure. But it's so new and exciting that it feels like my number 1 right now, but just because it's the newest one. I think when things settle down, it's probably going to be my 2nd or 3rd. I think my gut reaction is going to be A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Force Awakens, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. Santiago Montano, you asked why is Luke fat? I know that you're actually making a joke, but if you've seen pictures of Mark Hamill from 2012 and now, he looks fantastic. He looks great now. He's lost a ton of weight. Who do I think Supreme Leader Snoke is? I'm actually going to do a video about this next week, but you guys can get a sneak preview. I think that he is more likely to be a brand new Sith, or brand new character, I should say. I think he's a very old Sith. I think he's one of the original Sith. We got a hint of things to come in Aftermath, and one of Emperor Palpatine's advisors says that the Empire should move into the unknown regions, which they do eventually, and that Palpatine believed that the source of the dark side was in the unknown regions. So I think they go out there, and I think they find Snoke. I'm kind of split on whether or not he is an original Sith or Darth Plagueis. I definitely see the evidence pointing to Darth Plagueis, and I'll talk about that in my video. But with the way that they're kind of distancing themselves from the prequels, they're not talking about midichlorians. There's no Jar Jar, for example. I think they're going to continue with that trend, and instead of connecting it with Palpatine's history, they're going to introduce a new character. But I wouldn't be totally blown away if they did Plagueis, and I still think it would be cool. I just don't think that's the direction they're going to go. Jose, did the First Order destroy Khorasan? No, they did not. They destroyed Hosnian Prime, which was the seat of the Senate at the time. In the New Republic, the Senate didn't just stay on Khorasan. Actually, the new Senate was first set up on Chandrila, Mon Mothma's homeworld, and then it moved around from system to system. And it happened to be on the Hosnian system at the time, and that's where the New Republic fleet was, and that's what they destroyed. So it would appear that the New Republic is gone, and we're kind of back to square one where we were in A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. Now the First Order might be the power of the universe. They have a good chance of taking over, and the Resistance is like the only military force left because Mon Mothma did away with like 80% of the New Republic's military once they signed the Galactic Concordance. Where are we? Snoke apparently watched the galaxy since the start of the Clone Wars. I think he's probably older than that. Who's my favorite character in The Force Awakens? John Chuckwoodum. I hope I pronounced that right. My favorite character in The Force Awakens is a tough call. I really liked all of them. I think I'm going to go with Kylo. I thought he was a very interesting villain. I like that he isn't the most powerful Sith in the galaxy, or I don't know if he's a Sith, but I like that he doesn't have full control over his emotions or his power, that he just wants more. And the idea that, I mean, normally like we're used to Luke or Anakin being tempted by the dark side while they're a member of the light, but I've never heard of a Sith or a dark side user being tempted by the light side and kind of wanting to go back there, but for whatever reason is choosing to stay in the dark. And I'm wondering if his motivations are similar to Jason Solo's. Like, maybe he actually has a very good reason for wanting to be a dark side user. Warmock's Fury. I also enjoyed watching Chewie go ham. He killed like 8 stormtroopers right after he shot Kylo, and that scene was... it was satisfying to see Chewie get so upset and just start wreaking havoc. Will Kylo kill Leia to become fully connected to the dark side? Maybe if Leia gives him an opportunity, like Han did. But honestly, I think he's there. I think he is fully connected to the dark side. I think he made his choice, and for now at least, maybe we'll see some redemption in him in Episode 9, but I think in Episode 8 he's going to be all in. He'll be on the dark side, and he'll be out for revenge against Rey after she beat him down. General Hux will return in Episode 8, as will Captain Phasma. I'm doing a video about that next week as well. But Captain Phasma, although we didn't see much of her, she will be back in Episode 8. Talk about the Knights of Ren. I wish there was more to talk about. I was really hoping that we would know more about them. after this movie, but we only see them in that one flashback, and that's pretty much all we know, is that Kylo is their leader, and that's about it. I want to know more, but I just don't. Do you like that Stormtroopers got a better, more human role? Yes, I do. I think that one thing that this new canon is doing very well is humanizing the bad guys. We see that in Kylo, we see that in Finn, although he's not a bad guy, but if you read the novel Lost Stars, for example, or Servants of the Empire, you see why the members of the Empire are there and how they can rationalize things like the destruction of Alderaan, and how they don't exactly agree with everything the Empire does, but they have the sense of honor. There is a very human aspect to the Empire and the First Order, and I like that a lot. Who's my favorite Sith Lord? Darth Bane. I'm glad that he is canon thanks to the Clone Wars. I hope that they somehow recanonize his story, because I think his trilogy of books is fantastic. It's one of the best pieces of the Legends EU, and it would be my dream to see, like, they're talking about doing a Netflix series live action for Star Wars. I would love to see like a Daredevil thematically similar version of the Darth Bane story, where it's like kind of vaguely R-rated, and we really get to see what a true Sith can do. Do you think other Rens will appear in Episode 8? I really hope so. I want to see more of the Knights of Ren. I want to see them a lot. Did I cry? No, I didn't on the first one. I was just so overwhelmed. The second one, I teared up a little bit when Finn and Poe were reunited, actually. That whole scene, like, we got to see Han and Leia reunited, but I'm really enjoying the bromance between Poe and Finn, especially in their escape with the TIE fighter. That was like the first time in the movie where I just had like an uncontrollable grin on my face. I mean, I was smiling the whole time, but I loved seeing them working together like they just got to know each other, and they're already becoming best buds. And then when they get to re-meet each other and they're so happy that they're both alive, I thought that was very touching. And it's funny to see Oscar Isaacs and John Boyega in interviews where they joke about how they both played that relationship as a romance. My thoughts on Snoke. I actually mentioned that just a second ago, but I'll say it again. I think that he is more likely a original Sith or an original dark side user. Maybe not Sith, but kind of the source of the dark side power. I think he's involved with that, and that the First Order met him in the Unknown Regions. I'm going to do a full video on that in this coming week. Which, by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this publicly, but from now on, I am doing, instead of videos on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm doing videos every weekday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm going to have new videos out. So look forward to that. Terror Razor RTZ. What about Boba Fett? What about him indeed? I heard a rumor that he could be Lars von Trier from the very beginning of the film. I don't know if that's true or not. I just thought it would be interesting. I do think he's someone that we know or will be introduced to at some point, because he was called an old ally. Not that Boba Fett was really an ally with them, but maybe he becomes one over the course of the next 30 years. His age kind of lines up, but I do think that Lars is someone that we know. Also, it's interesting that Lars is his first name, and Owen and Beru Lars. Maybe he's related in some way to the Skywalkers. I don't know. Molly, I've actually already talked about this twice, but yes, I think that Snoke is like the OG Sith. my wife is trying to sneak onto the chat and feed me some questions. Are you asking if it's canon that Boba Fett died? Because it's kind of up in the air right now. It's very heavily hinted that Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit. If you read Aftermath, there is a little interlude where his armor pops up. So it seems that he would have escaped and just left his armor for whatever reason. We don't know where he is now, though. If I had to choose between a Jedi or a Sith, I think I would be a Jedi. I say that because every time I try to play a game like Fallout or KOTOR, every time I'm like, okay, this time I'm going to be bad. I'm going to do all the worst things that I can do. And then I get to like my first decision and I always go light side. I just can't bring myself to bring pain to even like these computer generated, not real people. So I know that if it came down to it, I probably couldn't be a Sith. Ooh, will Lando return? I think so. I definitely know that we're going to see more of him because the Lucasfilm Story Group has said that his story is not over. Is he going to be in episode 8 and 9? I don't know. I would think that maybe he'd pop back up after, at least for just a cameo, just to react to what happened to Han in The Force Awakens. And Billy D. Williams was present at the episode 7 premiere. I don't know if that means anything. They could have just been inviting him because he is so important to the franchise. But I do think that we're going to see him again in, if not film, in a book or comics or something. That's a good point about Boba Fett, Hans, sorry, I think it's Hans, is that his first line is, "This will begin to set things right." I agree. I like that line because it kind of feels like a message to fans who maybe didn't like the prequels so much, that this is kind of a righting of the ship. But yes, that is a good point. That could also mean Boba Fett is trying to make amends. Would I want Hayden Christensen to come back as a cameo in episode 8? Do I think Vader should stay as he is now, a legend? I would be okay with Hayden coming back. I think that if they were to... I don't know if he will, just because, you know, everyone is... Or just because the films are distancing themselves from the prequels. But if they were to start introducing prequel elements back into episode 8, which could point to Plagueis being Snoke, if they're going to start trickling that information in, I would be okay with Hayden coming back, because obviously you can't get Sebastian Shaw. But as long as they... I don't know. They would have to do it in the right way, and I don't know what that way would be. But if they did it in a satisfying way, I'd be okay with it. Would Disney remake and bring back the Old Republic? I hope they do. I really don't see them making any plans for stuff prior to the Phantom Menace, because like if you look on the official timeline, year 0 is the Phantom Menace. So I don't know if they're going to go back and talk about any of that. So I really think that they should just look through all that content, see what they like, see what they don't like, and pick and choose stories. So like, yeah, if they just said, you know what, Knights of the Old Republic, it's in the canon again. The Darth Bane trilogy, it's canon. Darth Plagueis, it's canon. Like, I don't think that just because they said everything before April 14th, 2014, like, that's all out. I think they could still go back and make amends to that. What about Lobot? What about him? Are you asking if he'll make an appearance? I don't know if he would in the movies, but let's talk about Lobot for a second, because if you haven't read the Lando comic, I really recommend picking that up. It was 5 issues. You can probably get it for like $20 on Comixology or Amazon, and it was awesome. That was one of my favorite comics from this past year. It surprisingly was the most emotional of the comics that has been released so far. If you haven't read that one, please look into it. Is essence transfer part of the canon? I don't think so right now. I can't think of anything canon that that happened in. The biggest stories that involved essence transfer were the Darth Bane trilogy and Dark Empire, where Palpatine put his consciousness into younger clones of himself. I don't think anything in the actual canon has brought that up, but I'm not 100% on that. Do I remember the part where Rin says they should have used clones? Yes, I do. That kind of calls back to Servants of the Empire, where we see the origins of the First Order. And Commandant Hux, who is General Hux's grandfather or maybe father. I'm not sure how old he was in that story, but he was trying to make a new army that was kind of a mixture of stormtroopers and clones. So at that point, they were getting volunteers and conscripts to fill up their army. And it was working okay, but they had to basically brainwash these people who were already adolescents. And he liked the fact that clones were raised and indoctrinated from birth, but they had weaknesses, and that they all had the genetic makeup, or they all had the exact same genetic makeup, and they were all susceptible to the same weaknesses. So he basically wanted to diversify and not put all their eggs in one basket, but also indoctrinate from birth. So that's why Finn was taken as a child and started to be trained while he was still a baby. So they're kind of a mixture of a clone army and the Stormtroopers, but Kylo is saying maybe we could control clones a little easier. Can I rank the different scum from favorite to least favorite? Give me the scum you want to rank, and I will rank them. If I were to rewrite the prequels like belated media, what would you make different? Thank you. I'm glad you love my channel. That's tough. I don't hate the prequels like some people do. I think the problem wasn't so much in the story itself, but more in the execution. I just don't think that George is a great director, and some of the decisions he made, like to film it all on green screen, I think those were the bigger problems. It just didn't have as much. This is something that Red Letter Media has said, but that the films just don't feel alive. So I wouldn't change the story so much. I would just want them to be directed by different people, probably. Who would leave Rey on a junk planet? Good question. I mean, my gut feeling is that she is the daughter of Luke, or the daughter of. I think that Han and Kylo and Leia know who she is. Han has a couple looks with her where it just looks like he regrets something, where when she says that she didn't know there was so much green in the entire galaxy, he just gives her like this really sad look, which could mean he's just sad for this poor girl that has been stuck on a desert planet her whole life, but I think it means a little more. And Kylo really seemed to be concerned that this girl, some girl, was helping BB-8 escape. I think they know who she is, and yeah, my first inclination is Luke, but I just don't see him abandoning his daughter, especially with was his name Unkar, like that whoever young Rey is with, it's that, or whoever abandoned young Rey, they left her with that big junk dealer, and I just don't see Luke being okay with that. I don't understand why, if he were to go into hiding, why he wouldn't just take his daughter with him, you know? I think that we definitely know or have met her parents before. I'm not 100% convinced it's Luke, but that's my best guess right now. When do you think we'll see the next teaser trailer for Rogue One? Man, I was hoping we'd see it at The Force Awakens. I was really hoping we would. I'm really excited for that film. Um, I I would hope it would be soon. I mean, we're less than 12 months away, so I would guess probably in the next 4 months or so. Wubba lubba dub dub. Thanks, Judge. Do I think Yoda will appear as a ghost in the next movie? That's interesting. I mean, I don't know if he'll appear as a ghost, but he did definitely, like, we've heard that Frank Oz recorded new lines for Yoda in The Force Awakens, and so did Ewan McGregor. So it's definitely possible they're able to speak with Rey. So, sure, he could. um, Rey Kenobi? I don't know about that. It just, the age doesn't seem to line up because Rey would have been well over 35 at that point, and she's what, 20? She was born like 10 years after the Battle of Endor, so that timeline just does not line up. Unless she's the granddaughter of Kenobi, but I don't know. I have heard that her British accent is a hint to her parentage, so it's possible, but I don't know. That seems really weird. Do I think Finn is going to be strong with the Force or have good skills with the lightsaber? Um, I could see evidence that all three of our new main characters have some Force sensitivity. Um, I don't. I'm leaning towards Finn not being Force sensitive, but Poe grew up next to the tree, or a part of the tree that was planted in the Jedi Temple. I don't know why that plot detail would be in the comics if it weren't going to come back later, if it weren't of some significance. So I can totally see the possibility that Poe is Force sensitive, and if he is, and Rey is, then it would kind of make sense that Finn is as well, and maybe the Force is awakening in all of them and not just Rey, but I think that the Force Awakens story was centered around it waking up in Rey. Rogue One is not the next one in the trilogy. Rogue One is the first. They used to call them anthology films. Now it's being called a Star Wars story. So it's more of just a spin-off story, and it's going to be about the team that stole the plans for the first Death Star, and it's going to be, it's going to be a straight-up war story, and I'm very excited about that because if you are a fan of my channel, you know that I love the pilots and just the regular soldiers, so I'm really excited to see some non-Jedi people doing some great things, and one of those characters looks like they could be Biggs Darklighter, which would blow my mind open. If Biggs is a main character in a movie, I don't know what I'm going to do. That might be my favorite movie immediately. Do I think Kit Fisto is alive? No, not really. I think that all of the Jedi outside of Yoda and Obi-Wan were killed in Order 66. Or, well, if not in Order 66, very soon after. I think by the time of Episode 4, they're all gone except for Obi-Wan and Yoda. But that's just speculation. I could totally be wrong, and the comics could prove me wrong soon. Can I explain where the map to Luke came from? That was put together by the Imperial Archives, which Kylo Ren mentioned, that BB-8 has the last piece of the map, and the rest of the map comes from Imperial Archives that detailed where in the galaxy there were places of significance for the Jedi, so Jedi temples or training areas. And I guess Luke is... it didn't look like a temple so much, or maybe it was a former temple, but BB-8 had the last bit of that map. And R2-D2 had the first part of the map, because when he was on the Death Star in Episode 4, he accessed the Imperial Archives. This is all the word of J.J. Abrams after the movie came out. It's not in any like written story sources. It's just what J.J. said. Who would I want to play Biggs in a Star Wars story? Let me look up who I think is playing him. His name is Diego Luna. He does look like Biggs, and he's sporting the mustache in the promotional image that we've seen. So, not saying it is him, but if they want to connect it to the rest of the story and bring back an amazing character who had a few lines in the original movie, who one person, me, happens to just adore, then I think that would be a good way to connect it back to the main story. And I would just love to see some actual new canon history for Biggs Darklighter. Do I think we'll get Force Awakens comics? I really hope so. Like, with The Force Awakens out at this point, I want so badly to learn more about that time in the universe. And right now, all the comics are in between episodes 4 and 5 for the most part. So I hope that now The Force Awakens is out, they're going to start releasing more content in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And I think they will. They have already started, especially with the short stories, the Tales from a Galaxy Far, Far Away, which are like $2 on Amazon, and they're really fun to read if you were a fan of like the Tales from Jabba's Palace or Tales of the Bounty Hunters. If you were a fan of those books back in the Legends days, these stories are very much like that. They're all centered around characters who were mostly in the background, and like, I mean, it's classic Star Wars EU, is they just choose these random characters and they make stories up for them, and the stories are a lot of fun. So if you're interested in those, you should check them out. My neighbor's dogs are going nuts. I think Wedge will be in Rogue One as well. I would love that too. I'd love to get more history about all of the Red Squadron pilots. Do I think Grand Admiral Thrawn would be a good add-on to the new trilogy? Yes. I want to see Grand Admiral Thrawn canonized in some way or fashion. I don't really care how. I don't care when. I just want to see him again. I thought he was a wonderful character. I would love to see him in like Rebels, even if that's all that we got. If he were just a short, like 3-episode arc villain, even if they killed him off, like just having him in the canon would be enough for me. Obviously, I'd love to see him do more, but at this point, I'll take anything. What planets would I like to see in future Battlefront DLC? I've read that it's unlikely they're going to do any Episode 7 DLC, which is a bummer, because I would love to fight above Starkiller Base. Seeing the fighter squadron fight there, I was like, I really want that. But, you know, I would love to see Kashyyyk. We've already got Tatooine and Hoth. Like, we've already got the major maybe a more urban setting like Khorasan. That would be cool to really fight in a city and have like destructible buildings and stuff. Maybe it's set like right after the destruction of the second Death Star, and you could play as like civilians fighting stormtroopers. I could see that being very cool. Oh, Arnold, San Jose, I love you too. Do I think the First Order will strike back? I wonder if that were the title of Episode 8, I would kind of roll my eyes, but I do think that they're probably going to. Oh, is the stream interrupted? Alright, my stream is acting up, but I'm just going to keep talking and hope it's alright. Where was I? Oh yeah, do I think the First Order will strike back? I do think they're probably going to have the upper hand in the next movie because the New Republic has pretty much been wiped out. So yeah, I think they're going to have a strong advantage coming up. Kathleen Kennedy said that 1313 isn't completely dead. I really hope that's true because that game looked like a lot of fun. If they even just like kept the same engine, maybe changed the story a little bit to fit with the new canon, I would love to play it. No, I didn't see R2KT Blob 180. I'd heard that she would be in there, but I did not see her. I assumed that she was maybe on the Resistance base. You want to tell me where she was? Where can I get that giant BB-8? It's actually just a bank. So I'm not sure where my wife got it, but it's just a piggy bank that just looks really cool. Will R2 be in the next film? I assume so. He was with Rey and Chewbacca as they went to go find Luke. I hope we get to see Chewie and R2 meeting Luke again. I assume that would be pretty touching. But I also wonder when Episode 8 is going to take place, It could be months after Episode 7, or like Episode 5 was set 3 years after Episode 4, so who knows what the time gap's going to be. If I could have a lightsaber color, what would it be? I'd probably go with blue. I don't know why. It's just the one that I like. Nice, DC Geek. What are you going to get? Oh, there you go. Those banks are at Walmart. The new Galactic Senate apparently moves around the capital around by election. I assume a new one will be elected by the next movie. I don't know. I mean, I think the entire Senate was blown up, so I don't know who would be making the elections. I think the New Republic is basically dead, or if not, they're trying to scramble to reorganize, but for now, I don't know. They might be gone. I hope there won't be another Starkiller Base too, because like they said, this is basically like the third Death Star. I want them to be more creative, because it's a problem that Legends books had as well, was that every story had some sort of super weapon. It's like, okay, we got the Death Star, the Sun Crusher, now Starkiller Base, the Galactic Gun, the Dark Saber, the World Devastators. Like, okay, maybe we can find something different than just a big weapon. That maybe it'll just be the dark side itself is the enemy. Like in The Empire Strikes Back, there wasn't a major super weapon. It was just like a character story, and it's highly regarded as the best film in the series. So you don't need to have a big weapon to have a successful movie. What spin-off movie would I like to see? If Rogue One goes well, I would totally see a Rogue 2 where they're stealing the plans to the second Death Star. I've mentioned like the Darth Bane trilogy as a Netflix series, but I would take a film as well, something explaining the origins of the Rule of Two. I had an idea. If you've read Lost Stars, it's kind of a throwaway scene almost, but there's a team of rebel soldiers that are basically trying to steal a Star Destroyer to add to their fleet. And they go into kind of what they need to do. Like, they have to get in, they have to disable the shields, and they have to disable the hyperdrives, and then they have to disable the self-destruct system. So they have to do all these things in order to take the ship, and it's such a big ship. So in my mind, I kind of imagined it would be like The Raid, if you have seen that, where the SWAT team goes in and they have to go floor by floor and beat all. It's like full of gang members and they have to get to the top. It kind of sounds like a video game, but I would totally watch something like that, where we have this team enter a Star Destroyer and they have like these objectives they need to get to, and they're fighting the entire time and they're slowly getting picked off. But I think that would be very exciting. Do I think Starkiller Base should have been the threat in Return of the Jedi? Maybe something different in The Force Awakens. Yeah, that could have been cool, because, the Death Star is basically like an exact rehash for all intents and purposes. Like, yeah, it wasn't exactly the same. It was bigger and had more power, but ultimately it's the same thing. So having a Starkiller Base would have been at least a little different, but after having two Death Stars, it's like Starkiller Base isn't different enough, Could Rebels pop up on the big screen? I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence about that, because I just people keep saying, Ahsoka's not a Jedi, Kanan's not a Jedi, Ezra probably won't be a true Jedi, and Yoda says in Return of the Jedi that Luke is the last of the Jedi. Which could mean that they are alive at that point. They don't have to die, but at the same time, that just doesn't really make sense to me, because if they are a part of a rebel cell and Luke is out there, a big part of the new canon in between episodes 4 and 5 is Luke is looking for a teacher. He doesn't know how to control his powers. So you'd think that somebody is like, oh, well, here are 3 people you can at least talk to, So they need to find a reason why that doesn't happen. So by the end of Rebels, if they're not all dead, which, I hope they're not, but they need to go somewhere, like leave the galaxy. They can't be a part of the rebellion, or else it just won't fit to me. I don't know why someone wouldn't send Luke to them. Have I ever been to Michigan? Yes, my cousins live in Michigan, so I've been there a couple times. I was there last year, I think, for my cousin's wedding, and yeah, I like it there. The 3 planets that were destroyed by Starkiller Base, it was the Hosnian system, so it's Hosnian Prime, we know for sure, which is where the Senate was, and probably Hosnian 2 and 3, or I don't even know if those were inhabited planets, but they blew up the entire system. Mostly to get the Republic fleet, I think. They were wiping out the Senate and the fleet in one blow. Why didn't the New Republic intervene against the First Order? That's a good question. Publicly, they did not, you're right. But privately, they were supporting the Resistance. Basically, they didn't want to start another galactic civil war like the Rebellion versus the Empire. They had a truce with the First Order, which the First Order was starting to go against. Like, they were attacking right on the line of where the truce was and attacking Republic ships, and they even had spies in the Republic Senate. So the First Order was starting to mess with things, but the Republic didn't want to start an all-out war. So Leia started the Resistance, and the Republic publicly didn't support them, but privately they did. So they did intervene in a way, but just not publicly. What planet would I like to live on in the Star Wars galaxy? I've always had a soft spot for Endor. It looks pleasant, and I like tree houses, so I'll go with Endor. Did you like the General Hux speech? Yes, and I also think that Hux is basically the new Tarkin. I liked Hux. I liked that he was on the same side as Kylo, but they're also kind of rivals, where Kylo or Hux would roll his eyes and basically throw Kylo under the bus to Supreme Leader Snoke, saying that, oh, well, Kylo thought that we didn't need to get the BB-8 droid. He thought that we should just take the girl and that he could get the information, and basically talking smack about him and trying to undermine him. So I like that dynamic. Do you think Han knew that he wasn't going to make it when he confronted Kylo? Do I think he just wanted to make a final attempt at reaching out to his son? Yes, I think so. I think when he walked out onto that walkway that he knew what was going to happen. What do I think about CGI Peter Cushing as Tarkin in Rogue One? Yeah, I have heard that rumor, and I think it's probably likely that it'll happen, and I'm okay with it, because I don't really want someone else playing Tarkin. I'd be okay with, like, Steven Stanton doing his voice, and maybe it'll just be like a hologram, you know, so he won't be like a physical actor on set, but he'll just appear in holographic messages. But I just don't think I would be able to see someone else as Tarkin, especially if they're playing him at the same age and he's going to talk. Do you think Rey already had training since she out of nowhere beat Kylo? I think it's possible. I could definitely see like an amnesia sort of situation going on. But in this new trilogy, it seems like they're really emphasizing the need to be like present and connected with yourself. So I think in that time where Rey just closed her eyes and calmed down and found peace, I think that was just kind of her connecting to the Force, and then the Force just flowed through her. So I'm okay with, if she hasn't had any prior training, that's enough of an explanation for me for her to be able to beat Kylo. DC Geek, if you want a Star Wars Minute shirt, you can actually look in the description of this video, and there's a link that says Star Wars Tees, and you can buy them there if you guys want one. Thanks for asking. It's a good way to support the show if you feel like it, but you know, I've heard a lot of people talking about, oh, Rey's just good at everything. Someone asked me to talk about how she's a Mary Sue. First of all, I don't really agree with that. I think that if we had a male character that was good at everything, that no one would bat an eye. But Rey's good at everything, and people are acting like that's a problem. And it's not to me. So basically, we don't know why she is good at everything, you know, and that's fine. But there is, well, not in the movie anyway, but if you read Before the Awakening, it does explain why she's a great mechanic and why she's a great pilot. Like, she has had experience in all these things before. She's been living on Jakku for 20 years. She had to become a good mechanic to become a good scavenger. And on top of that, she found a flight simulator that she would practice on as entertainment. And she built a ship, or refurbished a ship. So she scavenged parts and learned how to make it work, and then flew it. So it's not like the first time she ever flew a ship was on the Millennium Falcon. She was a talented pilot already. And then as far as combat, she had to learn to protect herself living on Jakku. And she just seems to have this innate connection with the Force. Maybe that's because she is related to a previous Jedi, somehow, probably. But I don't see her as a Mary Sue. Have I read Shattered Empire? Yes, I did read Shattered Empire. I liked it. It just seemed kind of disjointed to me. And it's odd that I didn't see much connection to The Force Awakens. Like, I thought maybe we would get a little bit more about the Force, or the Jedi tree that Poe grew up next to, or really anything. I can't think of any major connection between Shattered Empire and The Force Awakens. But I did enjoy it. Well, the Physics Grotto. What is your problem with it in storytelling? You just don't like that she was good at everything? Do I think Thrawn could be a part of the new trilogy? I hope he is, but I doubt it. I don't know. I'm not trying to get my hopes up, you know. I just don't want to be let down. Um Dat Ole, do you ever feel it awkward being a Star Wars fan? Not really. What do you mean? My favorite band, Joe Willard, is Muse. Um, yeah, I really like just kind of alternative music, but uh, I don't know. Muse just makes very interesting music. They have a very interesting and unique sound to me, and yeah, they're my favorite. Do I think Mara Jade could appear in the new expanded universe? I hope so. She's another one that kind of like Thrawn. I think she deserves to be canonized. It's like her, Thrawn, Darth Bane, Dash Rendar, although he's kind of in a gray area where he sort of might be canon, but he hasn't actually appeared in a story, just his ship. So, I don't know. Where do I think Snoke is hiding? I assume he's out in the unknown region somewhere, because that's where Starkiller Base was. So I think he's probably even further out there, where the New Republic would have no idea where to find him. Why Biggs? I don't know. I think he was like the first introduction for me to knowing that there was more going on in a film, not just Star Wars, but that like I saw these pictures of Biggs and Luke interacting together, and like we slowly got to see this trickling out of deleted scenes that were then added into the special edition. And he just really was interesting to me because I knew there was more to know about him and about this universe, and I enjoyed finding those things out slowly over time. Do I think Rebels is canon? It's definitely canon. Um, Ray or Finn? Hmm. I think I liked Finn more because, as I've said before, I enjoy the normal people in Star Wars a bit more than the Jedi. So Finn was kind of the epitome of that. He was kind of simple, not in a stupid way, but just in a he didn't know how the galaxy worked because he was raised as a stormtrooper, and he didn't seem like the model soldier. Although in Before the Awakening, he kind of is. He was like the most promising stormtrooper in the First Order, and I kind of rolled my eyes at that. I don't think he needed to be this impressive soldier. I kind of like the idea more that he was just mediocre and just didn't want to kill. And for whatever reason, the brainwashing didn't take for him. Um, I didn't like that he was also just good at shooting and good at melee fighting. Um, but I liked the way that he interacted with all the new people. I liked seeing him meeting Poe for the first time and how they worked together, and then just that he wanted to help Rey when she was in trouble, and then realized that he didn't need to. He like has this innate need to protect people, even though he's also trying to run. Do I think Phasma is the new Boba Fett? Yeah, basically. I mean, she looks cool and did very little and spoke very little. I'm glad that she's coming back for Episode 8, and I hope she gets to do a lot more. Do I think Rey will be in Rebels? There's no way. She wasn't born then. So it is 1:57, so my time is almost up, but I wanted to do a quick giveaway because I haven't done one in a while, and I love all you guys, and I'm so grateful for the chance to do this channel for you. I have had so much fun this past year. I started it on January 5th, so it's been almost a year since I started, and it's been an absolute blast. So what I wanted to do is give away a copy of Lost Stars because it was my favorite piece of the new expanded universe canon. So I wanted to give that away to someone, and I'm going to give it away to the first person that can tell me who my favorite character is. And Jan Podgorski, ask your question again. I just missed it. Thanks, guys. Jose, you got it. Jose Mercado Dianella. Wow, all of you guys knew that. But Jose got it first. So I'm going to send you a message, Jose, and I will get you the book. Marcus, that one guy from Cloud City. I do love him too. Well, I was hoping that I would answer one more question from Jan because I kept missing it for some reason, but I haven't seen it, so I think I'm going to sign off, guys. Thanks, this was a lot of fun. I'll probably do another one very soon because I'm growing pretty quickly, and I wanted to do one every, 10,000, but I might have to do them. I mean, that's going to be happening faster and faster, it looks like, so it's probably going to be a more frequent thing. So if you just joined on now, I'm sorry, but I'll do it again soon. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out, and I will see you next time.